Soon for
Send a text, no reply. Think that I've had enough. Years I've been running out of my way, but somehow could you still remain perfectly fine? Oh, it must be nice. Wish life would treat me the same, 'cause you seem okay. Oh, please, you don't even notice. Wish that I could show it. What am I supposed to say? Nothing's ever gonna change. Still on my mind, left me behind. Gave it a try, can't seem to find any good in goodbye. Bye, bye, bye. God knows I've tried. God knows I've tried.
I want something sweet without all the calories.
Little sweet. Did someone ask for the sweet, no-cal sweetness of Diet Dr. Pepper?
That was me.
Just take a sip. Oh,
Oh, that is sweet.
oh
Oh, yeah.
Do you work here?
yeah. No, Little Sweet is self-employed.
That's awesome.
Little Sweet sliding out on his knees.
He's hot.
I'm thirsty too.
Diet Dr. Pepper. It's the sweet one.
Just let go. Good evening. It is Wednesday, May 6th. I'm Justin Guarini, and you are watching So What Happens Now live. Hey, we have a great show for you tonight, but before we get started, I would love for you to drop a comment below and let everyone here watching know where in the world you're watching from. I always like to check that out and read it and see where people are as I go over here and look. Tonight's guest, as you no doubt know, is the one and only Misha Collins, and the topic of tonight's show is community. Okay, let's see. Where's everybody coming in from? Let me take a look here. Sarah says, hi, Sarah. Philadelphia, Indianapolis, New Jersey. Who else? Let's see. Penny. Mexico, Tampa. Oh, look at that. Beth Smith is in Tampa. All right. Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Lakeland, Florida. Denise is in Horsham. Oh, Anna is in Greece. I love it. We got people all over the world, and it's no surprise considering who our guest is. All right. But you're watching So What Happens Now live. Thank you very much. This show is actually more than just a show. It's actually a community of some wonderful people. And I just want to take a second to let you know, if you'd like to become a part of a beautiful group of individuals who value family, peace, fun, positivity, connection, and a place where there is, zero politics. Politics are of any kind are banned. A place where people are interested in working together to overcome the worry, the isolation, the uncertainty, and the stress that the COVID-19 crisis threatens to overwhelm us with every single day. All you need to do is text the word HOPE to 310-510-6034. That number that's scrolling right down there. Our community of hope, which is all about health, opportunity, peace, and empowerment. If you are in the United States and Canada, that is my number. And I do receive your texts right on my cell phone. And I respond, and I respond. So make sure that you text me the word hope there, and I'll send you a message back, as well as the link to our Facebook community where you can meet everybody else. That's it right there. Chuck, my producer, just brought it up, and it is really just a lovely place with positivity, just fun. We have a great time in there, and I hope that you'll join us. Hey, if you're outside the US or Canada, like Anna from Greece, no worries. Throughout the show, we'll drop a link in the comments, or you can find the link to our community in the show description on whether you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or Periscope, Twitter. It's all good. Hey, if you are working hard every day, just like I am, to stay as centered as humanly possible and to find peace in the uncertainty of each day, would you type the word peace in the comments below? I would love to see that I'm not alone in working literally every day, moment to moment to moment to moment, to find peace. All right, my friends, it is going to be, yes, I hear you, King. It is going to be an amazing and awesome show tonight. I'm so glad that you chose to spend this time here with us. Cammie, yes, I'm not alone. I want to welcome you all here. I want to welcome our Hope community members, our longtime supporters, and of course, our new viewers from all over the world. You could have been anywhere on the interwebs tonight, and I'm honored that you chose to be here with all of us. Okay, Misha is waiting in the wings backstage. He's smiling. No one can see him. He's smiling, though. I can see him, and I'm so excited for him to come on. Hey, one of the reasons why I started this show was because I wanted to find out more about the day-to-day triumphs and trials of your life during the COVID-19 pandemic. But the real question for me was, how do I do that? Well, I went on Instagram and I was bringing people on live and all these other things happened. And eventually we found ourselves here. But the reason that I wanted to do this and how I managed to make my way to where we are tonight is because I recognized that there was a time in the world before technology as we know it took hold, where one of the only tools that we had to pass along wisdom, love, history, life lessons, and even life-saving information was stories. And now that the COVID-19 crisis has forced us all to turn away from so many activities, routines, and the daily distractions that help us to feel balanced and somewhat normal, now more than ever, it's vital to discover, or really rediscover, our own stories, share them, and even listen to other people's stories. That way we can keep reminding ourselves, because Lord knows I need that reminder, that we are not alone. And that no matter how low we get, that someone else has been there and gotten out, or is there right now with you? And maybe you can lean on them, learn from them, and even find a way out together. So each week I ask our Hope community members to share where they are so that I can in turn share that with you. So in the spirit of the ancient art of storytelling, and to help promote community, understanding, and the feeling of, oh, thank goodness, I'm not alone, I'd like to read the stories of the week. Our first story comes from Lynn Jenkins. She writes, "Hello, Justin. Thank you for all that you do to make this craziness seem a little easier to bear. I haven't been online much over the past 3 weeks. I've been out of work 3 weeks due to COVID and pneumonia. Yuck. LOL. I'm back to work and feeling much better. I work in a pharmacy, which makes me more likely than most to catch something. I love my job and I love helping people. It killed me not to be able to help anyone for those 3 long weeks. I wish everyone good health, both physically and mentally. We will get through this together. Lots of love to everyone out there." Lynn Jenkins. Lynn, thank you so very much for being a frontline worker, and thank you to all of the frontline workers out there who are watching, families of frontline workers out there who are watching. My heart, and I know our community's heart, goes out to you and your families. We wish that you are safe. We hope that you are safe, that you stay healthy, and I think I can speak on behalf of everyone when I say that we are really grateful for all that you do for us and how you keep the wheels of society going. All right, let's move on to our second story. Hey, Justin, my story is that currently my husband, me and my 2 kids live with my husband's parents. Bum, bum, bum. My mother-in-law and I don't get along very well. We run our families way different, so being stuck in my house has been a huge struggle. The fighting and the tension is getting out of hand. I'm losing my mind. It will be, that was a smiley face right there. It will be 2 months since I left my house on the 12th. I'm so glad to have this community and you to vent my issues to. Otherwise, I would have cracked a long time ago. Luckily, I'm hanging in there. Hopefully this will all be over soon. Have a great day. Lindsay Dolney. Thank you very much, Lindsay. Hey, in the spirit of community, who out there, drop a comment in the comments below, can relate to what Lindsay's going through? Who can relate to what Lindsay's going through? I had to put my hand down real quick because I love my mother and father-in-law. They'd have told me a new one. But hey, you know, there are so many wonderful stories that you share with me week in and week out, and I wish I could read them all. But thank you, everyone, for your beautiful shares. Thank you so very much. Yeah, Joya says she can relate. That's absolutely true. I know you are not alone, Lindsay, for sure. Hey, if you'd like to share your story with our community and maybe even have it read live on our show, all you need to do is text the word HOPE to me at 310-510-6034. In last week's show, I was saying, hey, look, if you played that shots game every single time I mentioned the number on the show, you get hammered. But please don't do that. Text the word HOPE instead to 310-510-6034. That's HOPE to 310-510-6034. All right. Is everybody ready? I'm ready. Lucy! My producer loves to put little sweet breaks up there sometimes when I just need to cleanse my palate. And now is time to cleanse the palate because it is time to get to the main event of our show. But just before I want to welcome our guest, I want to kick off the topic of community, which is the topic of tonight's show. I want to ask you all out there watching one simple question about one amazing community. If you're someone who knows what Gish is, and you've played the game like I have, drop one word in the comments to describe how it feels to be a part of the Gish hunt and Gish community. I'm very excited to see all of that. Yeah, that was one of my things. I was actually an item. I had a team. I was a member of a team, and I also was an item. And so I think people had to come and recreate the poster from Justin and Kelly. And that was one of the submissions that was put in that year. It was awesome. It was so much fun to meet so many of you out there in Texas when I was down in Texas at the time. Okay, in the meantime, Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? I just hear bum, 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 bum in my head. In the meantime, it is my profound pleasure and honor to welcome to the show an outstanding human, humanitarian, an actor, a producer, an author, the creator of Gish, a man who plays an angel in his spare time on CW's smash hit Supernatural, and is also an angel in real life, except for when he's a bit of a devil. My friend and yours, Misha Collins. Welcome, Misha, to the show, everybody.
Hey! Oh my God, I gotta work on my backdrop. You have these beautiful drapes. I have
Look,
laundry hanging.
Livid. Look, you know what? I love it. When people call me out on my backdrop, I love to show people that I literally just have these nasty curtains back.
You have a backdrop behind your backdrop.
Right?
Just layers of perfection.
It's just, I try. I learn from the best, Misha. And you know what? Thank you for being here, man. I just love your whole vibe, because even your name, you didn't put Misha Collins. You put Misha is a tool right on your name.
I don't know who put that in. And
it's probably Charlie. But hey, so you do so much for everyone else. So the first thing that I want to ask you is, how the hell are you? How you doing, man?
I'm doing remarkably well. It's been an interesting experience the last couple of months of quarantine and shelter in place. I went through, I would say the first 3 weeks felt really challenging, because it was just this remarkable record scratch. Like everything was different.
Yeah.
And I didn't adapt as quickly as I would have hoped to. And but now I feel like I'm getting into a little bit of a routine, and I'm like, okay, let's find the good in this.
Yeah.
Without being a Pollyanna, without, acting like everything is great in the world and, people aren't succumbing to this pandemic. And I mean, I'm very concerned with that and trying to mitigate that in my own psychology. But I feel like I'm having these little moments that are remarkably lovely with my kids, and, being stuck at home and being forced to be present with my children has at times been a lovely thing. We've had really nice moments. But it's also
go and tell it.
It's also challenging. Like there are things that I can't talk about. Like I'm a entitled rich person who has a housekeeper and a babysitter, and my kids are in school, and all of a sudden I have to do everything myself. I'm not equipped for this. But it's all.
Wait, let me jump in. I hear what you're saying, and yes, there are plenty of people who are getting roasted out there for being rather entitled, but there are not a lot of people who do what you do for just your community in general, and for your people in general. So yes, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not fighting you on that, but maybe don't be so humble. All right.
To be perfectly transparent, I do try to do some charitable stuff and whatnot, but that's just to compensate for my entitlement.
Good.
And
hey, whatever works for you, whatever helps you sleep, man.
Yeah.
Whatever helps you sleep at night. So I know for me, when this first started, I was just like you, and just like a lot of people out there, I was just in this fog. Like I could not get it together. I mean, I was supposed to be going to Chicago to start the out-of-town run for a Broadway show. We'll talk about what you were doing, in the middle of doing, a little bit later on in the show. And like you, I feel like the past week or so, I'm just starting to really, truly hit my stride and figuring out what the F I'm doing in my life. Mm-hmm. And my kids, just like you, my kids have never been closer. We are all just.
How old are your kids?
My kids are 7, 9, and 15.
Wow. Okay. So I'm not in the exact same situation, but I've got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Not a 15-year-old.
Yeah. No, but it's very interesting.
Kind of interestingly, my wife acts like a 15-year-old.
I bet she could counter that argument. An argument of her own.
Yeah, but it's kind of an interesting. It's an interesting moment to be. I don't know. To be frank, to be given the opportunity to show up as a parent.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think one of the keys to not only surviving this, but thriving in it is recognizing that we have a huge opportunity. And it doesn't matter what walk of life you're from, because I often talk about how our world has been expanding for so long. Technology, civil rights, the amount of time it takes to travel from one place to another is just so much shorter than it was. It's just 50 years ago. And yet, now we're forced to be in this massive contraction. And so, okay, how do we expand inside the contraction? I think that we do have an opportunity to do that, which leads me to my very next question. What's been the most interesting thing that you've learned about yourself during the quarantine?
I think that I thought of myself as more of an introvert than I am.
Yeah.
I think that's probably it. I definitely used to, if someone asked me, are you an introvert or an extrovert? I would have said I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I'm an extrovert, and I never want to see my family again.
No, I understand. I understand. There's something to be said for the give and take of, even if you're just going down the block to work, like that. And it's like my wife and I get along until we don't. And it's just so interesting to see the dynamic that we have like now, where it's like all those things that we could, look down at the phone at, or I'm like, I got to go to work. I got to do all those things you can't avoid, right? I mean, you can't avoid them, but we just choose not to. And it's amazing to see how we have come together as a team and figured a lot of stuff out for the better. Now, speaking of teams, let's talk about the Gish hunt.
Okay.
Gish. Now, I know that there are a lot of people watching who know what Gish is, but there are some people who don't know what Gish is. And so I wanted to come straight from the horse's mouth. What is Gish?
So Gish is the word. So Gish stands for Greatest International Scavenger Hunt, and it is that. It happens in over 100 countries all around the world. I think that goes without saying. You can't have 100 countries without it being around the world.
I mean, it could be very, very isolated. Maybe, some sort of like European.
Is there a small cluster of 100?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some Luxembourg type countries. Yeah.
And we've broken 8 Guinness World Records, but it's also just, I think, possibly the most fun week you can have out of the year traditionally. And I say traditionally because right now we're doing these. So historically, we've done one Gish scavenger hunt a year in August, and it's a week long, and we're still doing that this year. But we've been doing these one-day mini hunts during, shelter in place and quarantine, and they've been remarkably fun. So it's a
how have you? So I remember I was on the team a few years back, and I was even part of an item, and a part of one of the items, the scavenger hunt items. And so, how have you adjusted it? You have an app now, right? Back in the day when I did it, we didn't have an app. You got this sweet thing now.
Right. We have an app now, which is geolocating, so you can see other people in your area who are doing it. We also are. We've not for the shelter in place quarantine hunts. Sorry, there are other people in the house.
Other small people who are coming in while you're working?
Not just me.
Tell me about it. I had to put a sign up on my door that says "Dad is working. Do not come in."
That if I put that sign up, that would be an invitation to come into the room.
You got somebody at your front door going. You got
that kind of hierarchy in this house. So
the app, shelter in place.
So the app is one change, but also we're doing these, quarantine hunts, which are just one day long. They're shorter, and also they're just more accessible, more family oriented. So and everything in the hunt is stuff you can do without leaving your house.
That's amazing. I mean, and just it goes to show you, just whether it's wearing a mask and gloves or making sure that you wash your hands, I'm so pleasantly surprised at how adaptable human beings are, and so the kind of things that people do are absolutely amazing. The kind of items that you have, like this, right, is great. Like this was, I think, someone had to make a hat out of.
Yes, from weeds. Yes.
Weeds.
Yes. I mean, another thing that I can say about it is that we've managed, I think, in a strange way, to crack the code on gamifying good is the term I use. But
Yeah.
basically, we're using this as a way to this game as a way to have a positive impact on the world. So, we've had people who are and end up as bone marrow donors and blood donors. We've also bought farms for Rwandan genocide survivors, and we are running a school for South African township residents for a dance school, and we've helped refugees from Syria, and we do a lot of and I think so far we've paid for 350,000 meals for people who are impacted by COVID. So our ambition, and I think to an extent what we've achieved with this, is that we're helping people in need by playing a game, which is really cool.
Absolutely, and I loved being a part of it. I know registration is open.
It was so cool having you a part of it. In the last stay-at-home scavenger hunt, you did a singing class, and it was I think it was 6 a.m. my time. And
It might have been 5, maybe.
Do I really have to get up right now? And I was like in my bathrobe, and I came down, and we did the Zoom thing, and I was like, what a great way to wake up and greet the day with singing. So it was actually lovely. So thanks for being a part of that. It was really
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be a part of it, and I love what you're doing. A couple of years ago,
you should be an alarm clock. And I don't want to tell you how to run your career.
Hey, look, if all else fails, I mean, I gotta pivot, maybe, I think. So that might be a thing. Like, hey, or sing something. I know that a couple of years ago, I was a part of the actual hunt itself, and one of the things that we did was we asked everyone on my team, and I think it might have been another team included, asked everyone to go out and buy 6 pairs of socks, and instead of just saying, "Oh, we're going to take 6 pairs of socks and drop them off at a shelter," we actually took all the socks, opened them up, bundled them together, 2 by 2, and we had this huge sock fight where it was almost like a snowball fight, but with socks. And it's that type of thing where it's like you're doing good, but you're having so much fun.
Yes.
And it was just absolutely amazing. It's those kinds of things that.
Sorry, I felt something burning, so I have to just check the floor here.
Look, this is truly the quarantine. This is a quarantine moment right here, ladies and friends. You are seeing this live. We're taking a tour through Misha's house, through Misha's beautiful home, right there. You have something burning. You had something cooking during an interview. You have something cooking during an interview.
I know it's not terribly professional.
That's good. Professional. Hey, so a little birdie, and I don't know if this is true. This could just be a rumor that I heard. So please tell me if it is a rumor. A little birdie told me that there might be some exclusive info that you were going to drop about the hunt.
Yes, I'm gonna tell you 2 things, and I shouldn't do either. But
okay.
One is you need semolina flour, and 2 is Legos.
Semolina flour and Legos. And for those of you who have never played Gish before, these are 2 massive hints, because you don't really find out what it is until like the big lever gets.
I feel dirty or guilty confessing this right now.
That's good. That's good. That's good. We can be dirty together. It's great. So semolina flour and Legos. So for everyone who is playing, and yes, Sarah, that is exclusive tidbits for the Gish hunt. You are going to need Lego
pasta. Yep.
Lego pasta. Okay, so that's it for all my Gishers or people who are thinking about joining Gish, the hunt itself. Semolina flour and Legos. There goes your exclusive hints. Okay, so you've got this side hustle. It's a little show called Supernatural. It's in its carry the 50th, I think, season now, and it's its final season. And you guys actually got shut down 2 episodes before filming the finale. So I'm not going to bother to ask you about the ending. I'm not going to bother to ask you about the actual show and what's happening in the season itself. Most of the people who are on here know so much more than we could ever tell them. But what I do want to do is take it, instead of asking you about the ending, I want to take it all the way back to the beginning, because I want to know how it all started for you. I'm fascinated by the audition process and how actors book gigs. I mean, I have a whole other sort of part of my life where I teach master classes about auditioning. And so I want to know, what was it like? One of the things that I talk about in my book and in my master class is origin stories. It's kind of like that superhero thing where, you know, Peter Parker was just this guy with the camera, and then he got bit by the radioactive spider, and the next day his life was changed. So what was your origin story for Supernatural?
So I think I had auditioned for the show once before, but I came in and the audition was for a new demon on the show. And I went through the audition once, and Eric Kripke, who was the showrunner and who had created the show, said, "Okay, that was good, but we didn't want to put this out on the sides, which is the audition material. But this character is not a demon; it's an angel. So do it again, but with that in mind." And
amazing. So you had to make an adjustment right there. I mean, which is what we do, but you were prepared to be a demon, and then
and by the way, I had never watched the show, and my version of a supernatural demon was very demonic and not terribly nuanced, and that's actually not how demons show up on the show in the first place.
Right.
So I made a quick adjustment. And Robert Ulrich, who was the casting director, after I did one take of my adjusted version, did the kindest thing I've ever seen anyone do for me, which was he jumped up out of his chair. So he was sitting on the couch next to Eric, and he jumped up out of his chair right before I finished my read, and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. And he opened the door to the office and he yelled into the hallway, "Guys, can you please keep it down out here? There's an audition in process." And he slammed the door angrily. And I know for a fact that there was no ambient noise. And he liked me as an actor, and he'd brought me in on many things before, and he wanted to give me another chance. And that was his way of giving me another chance. And I will forever be indebted to him, because I gave a much better read the second time.
Yeah, and that's it.
I was still a little rattled by the okay, you're not evil, you're good, whatever the direction was. But I will never be able to repay my debt of gratitude to him.
That's so wonderful. And just thanks to his kindness, obviously thanks to your talent and the ability that you have, right? All that. It's just amazing. When I talk to actors that I will coach, it's just, I try to tell them, it's like the casting team is on your side. So many times I've felt like this casting director hates me. I've heard other people in the hallways being like, "Ugh, these people just can't stand." No, they want you to be the one, and if they really feel like you got it, they will do things like that for you. And so that's amazing. I love that story, and I for one, I don't know about anybody else here on the comments, but I for one am happy that you booked the gig for sure.
Thank you for your chair.
So you guys were stopped in just before filming the last 2 episodes. So fingers crossed that once this is done, that is all going to be taken care of. We will find out how the show itself ends. But in the meantime, you were talking about being home and being with your family. You actually wrote a book, The Adventurous Eaters Club, Mastering the Art of Family Meals. What brought that beautifulness around?
It was just playing with the kids in the kitchen and finding out that the more they're involved, the more they're willing to try things.
Mm-hmm.
And that continues to be true. We just made a celery pizza.
Wait, how
Actually,
did that go? Is that what's burning right now?
what was burning just now was a celery pizza. And that's because all we have left in the refrigerator was pasta sauce and celery. So
Man,
we're
let
having,
a guy go a couple months without a housekeeper and look what happens, huh?
yeah.
It's real nice. Hey, Amanda says, I made the king of kale recipe. You got a thing with kale. Where did your kale obsession come with? Because it plays a large part usually.
I've always been a big fan of kale, but I was at Comic-Con, I would say probably 10 years ago, and someone said, a lot of people are fans of Supernatural. I was a reporter who was like, a lot of fans of a lot of people are fans of Supernatural, but what are you a fan of? And I was like, kale.
Right.
And that started this whole thing, and a spiral of regret.
Wait, one of the items in Gish was a kale bikini or bathing suit.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that you had to make an actual item of clothing, and I think it was a bathing suit or something to the effect of.
I'll create any item to get people skinnily clad. Really
Amen. Amen. All right, so let's take a few comments from the audience. Let's see. Some people, actually not some people, a lot of people love this book. Heidi says West's vinaigrette rocks. Love salad bar and a mason jar. Let's see. I tried the Brussels Depot recipe. Kayla says. Let's see. Beck Hunsberger says love Castiel Misha. He's such a sweetheart. You got a few people who like you. I don't know why. You got a few your minions. We are your minions, Elena Lull says, Misha. The Misha's minions. All right. So now I'd love to move on to our final segment. I know I've asked you all the questions that you've been asked before, but this is a segment that I call 7 Minutes in Heaven. We certainly talk about serious subjects on this show, but there are just times when a girl just wants to have fun. So I'm going to introduce this brand new segment to you, Misha, that has been specifically designed for you called 7 Minutes in Heaven. I don't have a graphic for it, so I'm not going to pull it up, but I will say this. It is not going to be 7 minutes, and we're just going to roll right into it. It will be longer than 7 minutes, and I'm going to ask you a series of 7 ridiculous questions that I would like you and the audience to answer.
Okay.
You ready? Ready for this?
No, but I'm
no, of course not. Then that is the way, right? That's the way. We're actors. We have to be prepared for anything. Everybody in the audience, are you ready? Type ready in the comments if you are ready for 7 Minutes in Heaven with Misha. Whew. All right, here we go. Ready. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pull up the banner for the first question. Okay, here we go. What is the weirdest smell you've ever smelled?
The first thing that comes to mind is season 4, sitting in the backseat of the Impala. On Supernatural, Jared was doing a lot of weightlifting and bodybuilding in season 4. He was bulking up a lot, which meant that he was eating many pounds of protein a day, which meant that being in a vehicle with him with the windows rolled up was deeply, deeply disturbing. And he took great pleasure in making me suffer. So I'm actually substituting most painful for weirdest. But whatever.
Yeah, no, I get that. Those protein shakes will get you. Melanie Bailey says bacon candle. A bacon candle.
That's remarkable.
That is wild. That'd be interesting. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So I was going to ask you a follow-up question of what you smelled on the set, but you just
both of them. Yeah.
Okay, here's a fun one. And let's see. If you were arrested with no explanation, what would your friends and family assume that you did?
Well, I'm just gonna jump into the one time I was arrested. Um,
Right.
so I was I think I was probably 20 years old, maybe 19, and I was home from college.
Uh-huh.
And I had a book with me, Watership Down,
Oh, yeah. Heard of it.
um, which I was halfway through and eager to read. And I think it was probably 11 or 12 at night, late in the night. And I was looking for a place downtown in the town in Greenfield, Massachusetts, where I'm from. And I was looking for a good place to read. And I saw that there was a street light right above a one-story building.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, well, that's a great place to read. There looks like a lot of light right there. And there was a fire escape right up to the roof. So I scrambled up the fire escape onto the roof and then sat leaning against the wall of the flat roof and read for a little bit. And then spotlights came on from adjacent rooftops about half an hour later. And then there was a megaphone that said, come down off the bank. And
You didn't
So-
notice? It was.
apparently I had climbed onto a bank.
I
And-
love it took them a half hour to get to you.
And
Apparently
some,
not the most-
some of like neighbors or whatever called the police and said there's someone that's robbing the bank. And the police, when I got down to the alley next to the bank, threw me on the ground and put my arms behind my back and cuffed me and threw me in the cruiser. And then when I presented them with Watership Down, I said I was just reading this. There was something very, I guess, compelling about my argument. They were like, "Oh, this is just a nerd. I'll let him go." And so that was it. I've never seen the inside of a cell.
Really? So they just let you go. That's amazing. I don't know. I think probably my family would just assume that if I had gotten arrested, probably that I had just run my mouth or run naked through the street. But Lisa says unlicensed surgery. That's a thing. So anyway, we get some very interesting comments along here. I love this. Okay, let's move on to the next question. We're on 3 of 7. What are the unwritten rules of where you work? That you can talk about.
Good question. Well, no, I mean, I shouldn't talk about anything. But I would say that on the set of Supernatural. Oh, by the way, I'll say 2 things about this. This morning I went out the door and I said, I'll be back later. And I was just leaving the house. My wife and I had agreed that she would take the morning, I would take the afternoon. We'd give each other a little bit of time alone to, do our own stuff.
Right.
So I was leaving the house just to do my own stuff.
Mhm.
And Mason said, my daughter said, my 7-year-old said, where are you going? Are you going to work? And I said, no, honey, I don't have a job anymore. Which I think is probably a phrase that a lot of dads and moms have said to their kids recently. But unwritten rules at work. We on Supernatural. So obviously, it's a TV show, and obviously everybody that comes on as an actor is performing. And yet there's this weird unwritten rule that if you take the art of acting seriously on our show, you're a loser. So, so if anyone comes on and starts doing vocal warm-ups or any of the trappings of acting, we're all like, oh, look at this.
What's the either funniest, strangest, weirdest thing that you've seen a day player come on and do?
We have people come on all the time who are like, and doing vocal tongue warm-ups.
Right, like the 101 class of acting.
What's happening here? What's going on? But recently we had somebody on the show who had an emotional scene, and he just took like he had a lemon and he just like squeezed lemon juice into his hand and then put it into his eyes right before the take. I was like, you got to be a little bit more subtle about that, dude. You got to be. Don't just show everyone what you're doing. You know, we all fake it, but don't let everyone know you're faking it.
All right. That's so funny. I've never heard of lemon juice. There's the crystals and all that horribleness that they blow into your eyes if you ask them kindly. But like, oh my goodness, lemon juice. All right. That's great. I would love to know. Do we have any good comments? Chuck, my producer's back there. Ouch, that must hurt. Yes, Rabinia, for sure. I think the comments are scrolling by a little too quickly for us to get some of these things, but you're enjoying them, those of you who are watching them. Hey, if you're just joining us, by the way, this is So What Happens Now live. My guest is Misha Collins, the one, the only Misha Collins, and we're playing 7 minutes, which is much longer than 7 minutes at this point, in heaven, asking some ridiculous questions to my good friend Misha. Okay, 4 out of 7 here is, what would be the hat to end all hats? Now, like, what could you wear on your head that would like?
I have a very ready answer for this, and it's something that I've been fantasizing about for a long time. But it's a fishbowl hat. So it's a hat that has it's an aquarium hat.
An actual active aquarium?
Yeah, with living animals in it. Yeah.
That's amazing. That is amazing. The hat to end all hats. The follow-up to that question was something that would make people stop and stare in amazement. I remember when I was little, there was this movie called "I'ma Get You Sucker." It was a Wayans Brothers movie. And and in it, speaking of fish, as soon as you said that, there's this guy who was very much from the 70s and wouldn't let it go. And he had shoes, big platform shoes, disco shoes, that hit the heel with the fish in them. Do you remember that? Did you ever see that movie?
I did see that, and I can't believe I don't remember that part.
Yes, he did, because he goes, I think he was in jail for a really long time. He'd been in jail, and those are the clothes that he had. And so he had these shoes, these big platform shoes that actually had a fish, what would be a platform-sized fish tank in the back of them. That's amazing. Okay.
God, that's such a great idea.
Is your food still burning? Megan Sadler wants to know. She's concerned. Is your food okay? Your food
I turned the burner off. I mean, it's not still burning. It is now burned, but it's not still burning.
Hey, look, you put on another thing on the stove in the middle of one of my interviews. I look, I'm not liable for whatever it is that you do, but don't worry, he's fine. Everybody, I'd like a candy bowl hat so I can have easily accessible snack while looking fashionable. Yes, Blue.
Yeah,
fashion and function. I love it. Okay, let's move on. Number 5 out of 7. What's the weirdest thing you've seen in someone else's home? This one you might need to take a second.
So I don't have to think at all. I went to someone's house, and there was like a kitchen table. I mean, the house had like all of this kind of macabre tchotchke around, like, you know, handcuffs and weird things sort of on shelves. But there was the kitchen table. I was like, that's a weird table.
Mm-hmm.
And then I circled back to it and realized it was an autopsy table.
Like metal? Like a metal? Was it like one of the old-timey white ones?
Yes, with like enamel, chipped enamel. I mean, it had been well used. It was an autopsy table.
So you want to eat off of that? That's amazing. Had it been like it was chipped, so they hadn't bothered to like refinish it or anything? Like
No. It was straight out of the,
had the hole in it and everything for draining.
Yes.
That is wild. That is wild. I'd love to see some of the comments. Can we bring in some people's comments for what are the weirdest things they've seen? And how I would, because that a backdrop with another backdrop.
Okay, well played.
Well played. Cheryl says a snake that wasn't kept in a tank. That's amazing. Let's see if we can get one more before we move on to question number 6. We got 2 more. We're about 50 minutes into the broadcast, and we're going to go about an hour here. A ferret playing with the chicken,
That's not a
Catherine.
real- that's
I
not-
don't know if that's a real thing. If it is a real thing, it probably shouldn't be a real thing because that's just odd. Okay, 6. All right, what are 2 totally normal things that would be really weird if you did them simultaneously?
Um.
I'm going to give you something. Drinking a soda out of a straw and sneezing at the same time.
Well, that's a great example. I mean, drinking soda.
My producer Chuck says that sounds like a Gish item.
Well, ironically, so here's a funny thing. So we come up with these lists for Gish of all of the items that people have to do or make or find or whatever,
Yeah.
and I will, when we first started, I came up with all of the items myself, and then we work as a team now. And every once in a while, I will give the note, gishify this item. Like it's a good idea, but it needs to be gishified. And really, what I mean when I say that is, it needs to be 2 things that don't really go together.
Right.
Trying to think of an example. For example, project the text of an Emily Dickinson poem on the hull of a Navy warship. It's got to have a little incongruity to it.
But that sounds absurd, but it's those type of things that
I happen to think that those kind of things are where, not to get sort of sentimental or earnest, but where real beauty emerges.
Sure.
Like, if you can find the real beauty in an unexpected place, it creates this phenomenon of poetic disruption, which causes people to take a moment, take a breath, and notice, wait, this is not as I expected, and maybe gives you this fraction of a moment to frame the world in a different light.
I love. Excuse me. Where's my lemon juice? Me without my lemons. That's beautiful, man, and very, very true. I know also that at the risk of us getting a little too earnest and sentimental, that you've also, I think it was, God, it might have been my year, where you instructed people to launch a Christmas tree into space, a lit Christmas tree into space, and you got a few calls from some airline folks because pilots were seeing these Christmas trees.
Yes, there were a few news stories about regional airports being closed because of Christmas trees in the airspace, which for me was deeply satisfying because no planes were downed.
Yes. Oh, that's so funny. That's just an example of what it is that you could do. Kayla Miller says we've done some wild things for Misha. That is true. You're not alone there, Kayla. Okay, the 7th and final question for you and for the audience is, what is your favorite animal sound, and can you demonstrate it? Now, I know this one is embarrassing. I'm going to do it with you. I'll give you mine as well. Should I go first? Would you like me to?
Yeah, I thought that was you going first.
Okay, I'll go first. There was a pregnant pause there, and I started to pucker a little bit, and I think it's like, oh, he wants me to go first. So, okay. So my favorite one is actually like either a lamb or a goat. Oh, oh, oh.
That's really good. It's remarkably good.
Thank you very much. It's on my special skills.
Oh man, I wish I had practiced recently. I used to be able to do a really good pig.
Okay, all right.
But I'm not going to do it just cold.
No, I understand. No, you got to warm. You do it. I'll jump up and then scream at my kids to be quiet. So
we
that you can do
had a fish recently that made this sound.
Oh,
which was remarkably soothing.
Oh, that's good. I almost
we just got a dog for the first time.
Right.
And for the longest time, myself and the kids were like, let's get a dog. Let's get a dog. You know, we want a dog. And my wife was like, you know what, Misha, that's great of you to be on board with, but you're traveling all the time and working all the time. And what you're really saying is you take care of another being. And
Right.
I'm not gonna do that. And then
Do you have any pets?
at Christmas this year, she came home and she's like, I got a dog. I was like, what? You didn't ask me? And 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 so the dog's name is Hazel, and she's a golden retriever, and she's so sweet, but she snores, and her snoring is indistinguishable from my wife's snoring. So I keep being recorded, and she sleeps right next to the bed, and so I keep on like hearing the sound and being like, "Honey, oh wait, who's snoring?" Anyway, it's a sweet sound. I'm not going to imitate it, but it's.
I understand. Look, I understand because I know that were you to imitate that sound, it would.
It's only going to backfire.
It would backfire. It would be played on loops across the world, and so I'm going to give you a pass on that one for sure. But hey, I want to thank you very much for being here. I think you're absolutely awesome. A few people in the chat who are watching happen to like you, but I can say from personal,
a lot of my enemies are also in the chat.
Hey, look, you know, there's some frowny emoticons going on. It's not all thumbs up, hearts, and laughs, right? But I can say from personal experience, at the risk of being too earnest or sentimental, that I have thoroughly enjoyed all the time that I've got to spend with you.
Yeah, and me, you, Justin. Yeah, you're a buoyant and lovely light in the world.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, I feel the same about you, and thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for creating Gish and all the other wonderful things that you do for people all over the world. Fingers crossed on Supernatural. I do want to make sure that people know exactly where they need to go in order to register for Gish. So let us know where to go.
Yeah, Gish, GISH.com, I think.
Gish.com/Gish.com. I think that's what it is. No, it's just Gish. Gish.com. I think you're right. I'm pretty sure that's where you go. Gish.com. If not, just type in the word.
You'll figure it out.
Find Gish. Yeah. GISH. All right. Well, that's about it. Oh, before we go, I do want, and I don't want to put you on the spot here, but these sort of, what would we call them, audiences with you are rare. And so before you go, are there any parting words that you have for the people watching tonight? I'm gonna give you the floor, as a matter of fact. I'm gonna give you the whole thing.
I'll just say this. Stay safe, be kind, take care of yourself, and take care of the others around you.
That's absolutely lovely. Short, sweet.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you so very much for being here. All right. Take care, man. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed that. Thank you very much for being here. Hey, if you like Misha and you like this show, please share. Like it on Facebook, retweet it on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and make sure that you go to gish.com to check out what Misha is doing. It is an absolutely awesome game, without a doubt. Hey, this has been amazing. I've enjoyed all of your comments and thoughts tonight. Thank you very much for playing along, for being here. For further discussion on our community of hope, you can join by texting the word hope. That's right. To 310-510-6034. 310-510-6034. The word hope. 310-510-6034. Or you can click on the link in the description of this video. Thank you so very much to our community of hope. You make this possible. You make this what it is, and it is all for you. All right. Join us next Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST for an absolutely awesome show. You are watching So What Happens Now live. I'm Justin Guarini. Have a wonderful night.
For love.